Cowboys and the Giants, Thursday Night Football on this radio station. And Jerry Jones on this station is always brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
Great that you could do this at 8. I hope we don't miss anybody, but good to be on with you. But I'm on my way to the airport for got New York meetings today, so I'll be up there.
Well, thank you for still making the time for us. Jerry, you know all the issues we've been talking about in the offseason to start this season. How concerning is it that those same issues didn't get fixed against the Ravens?
Well, I think that what we didn't fix against the Ravens will ultimately get fixed. That's not just optimism. I like our personnel. I like the way we're going about fixing it. It's pretty apparent we've got some pretty glaring areas that we can get better in, and I think we will.
Jerry, what gives you the hope that it can get fixed with this personnel, given what's happened the last 2 weeks?
Well, I think we were 2-3 last year, and we ended up winning 12 games during the regular season. Now, we weren't as ready as we'd like to have been for the playoffs, but I think that we're certainly learning about what not to do, that's for sure. We played some pretty top competition early. This Cleveland, this Baltimore, this group of teams in that division are really tests for us as we get ready for our first game, of course, in our division against the Giants this week. But all in all, I do think that while we're disappointed without a doubt and can really see how we need to really put this thing better together as a team, more coordinated. And I'm not just saying within the defense. I'm saying defense, offense, the entire area. I think we have a chance to improve on this. And that's the big thing. We're not hitting on all cylinders. If we were, that'd be real concerning.
Jerry, what do you like about the way you are addressing it, and how are you guys addressing it?
Well, I think I like the way we're basically right down to the individual's technique. Accountability is what it calls for, and there's no question about it. And at this time of the year, you've really got to focus in on what your part is on a team concept, whether it be defense, offense, or special teams. So I think we're doing the right thing. I know that for a fact that we've got coaches that know how to do this, know what they want done, and know what they're expecting from the players, know by this time what they can get out of the players. Mike Zimmer knows these players now. When he walked in last spring, it might not have been the case, but he knows them now. And he knows what their potential is. And they need to see that. This is just a part of really, when you look at it, the ups and downs of everything. And you've got to really be your best when it's a downtime. And this is that. It's not the end game, not the end time. We play 17 games. Just to remind you, we play 17 games. We played 3 of them. We're not at all satisfied with where we are, but we've got the time to have the kind of team we want going into the playoffs.
Jerry Jones joining us here, 105 through the Fan. Is there any position, this offseason, looking back, that you may have misjudged, that in hindsight you would go back and fix?
Well, I like where we are at all positions. Mozzie Smith, that interior in there, we've thrown some attention at that area, and I like the way Mozzie Smith responded last week. And we've got some veterans there that can basically, you can expect as we go along that will be involved in the rotation. That's an area right there. I frankly really like the way that we're approaching the game with Dak. We expected him to be better this year than last year in his initial season with Mike calling the plays. We expect him to be better. He can be, and I think he is better. And we've got to get it on the field. But I think he is better. I think that I'm pleased with what we're doing with our tight ends as receivers, and I'm pleased with the way that our receiving core is basically performing. Now, are we satisfied with the results? Well, absolutely not. But we've just got a lot of areas that we can do better in. We've got to be able to really get off the snap quicker. That comes with confidence in the scheme. We can do that on defense.
Jerry Jones here on The Fan. So, Jerry, you think right now, especially defensively, it's more underperforming versus just not having the right personnel that you guys decided on?
Well, I think the underperforming can mean two things. Statistically, we're getting beat. That's what we're doing. It's not from a lack of effort. You saw us really with our backs against the wall out there in the fourth quarter the other day, and really did not in any way accept that the outcome that we were going to lose that game. That's encouraging to see. You want that in your team. We were playing a team that was a Super Bowl team last year. Went to the Super Bowl and had lost the first two games. They stuck to what they do best. They came in here, their quarterback, their run game, all of that worked against a team and us that are still got to put it together. But that's what this game is. That's what it's about.
Jerry, Jason Garrett said on the NBC Sunday Night Football pregame show, quote, Cowboys are not a physical football team. Everyone understands this about them now. You have to go in and run the ball. Do you agree with that assessment that you guys are not a physical football team?
Well, I know that Jason's Garrett's philosophy and agree with it in many ways. Let me say this. When you hear people say they've got to run the ball and they say they've got to stop the run, do you know that almost every conversation in the world starts that way? That's like we've got to unlock the front door of the store. So that's such a cliche. Because we all know that the running ball, the statistics, that part of it has a lot of nuances to it. I've sat in too many meetings with a lot of these guys that we hear from, and Jason Garrett included. And I know exactly what he's talking about. I know this, that we went out there looking for the big plays the other day, and that's the reason we took the opening kickoff and took possession. We went out there to do our best to get up on these guys and make them play a different ball game. So anyway, there are a lot of nuances involved. I accept the fact that people say, look, we've got to go to our lead receiver, Lamb. That's where you put your emphasis. Go get the ball to it. I accept that. I accept the fact that we need to run the ball better. Well, we need more attempts at the run. That's you got to work that in with wanting to throw the ball, as we went into the game the other day, meeting and thinking we needed to make some big plays and throw the ball. And of course, if we had gotten them earlier, then it might have been a different outcome.
Jerry, you've mentioned it's early in the season. At what point in time do you typically determine what you are as a team, like in any given season, and at what point do you make a determination on changes you might need to make?
Well, I always like Hope Parcells. He's credited to this, and you're what your record says you are. And I think that's what we are today. I think we're 1-2, and that's obvious, but I think that's where we are. The real issue is what we can do against New York, and then each week build it to the crescendo of getting. We've all bought into the fact that, look, 12-win seasons are pretty good. But we've all bought into the fact let's qualify for the playoffs, and then let's have a team put together that is playing great in the playoffs. Well, that's 14 weeks away, so let's get ready to do that.
Jerry, yes, 12 wins.
Question: when you will never have a game out there that you're totally satisfied that you got it all covered. There's always a lot to work on. We have a lot to work on to get better. But we've got some good players now, and they can play better than we've been playing.
Jerry, Micah Parsons, Tank Lawrence, Jordan Lewis in the past 48 hours have talked about we're not detailed. There's hero ball. When you hear that, does that alarm you that this defense is talking about details and focus and hero ball this early into the season?
Anybody that's ever been a part of a team knows that there's very seldom a time when that team doesn't have to have a come-to-Jesus meeting. And everybody gets down, you all these terms, look in the mirror, look within yourself, look at what you're doing. Think about what you're going to do. Are you studying your opponent hard enough before Sunday, or in this case, Thursday? Nobody that's really ever been through success have not had those come-to-Jesus times when they've had to relook in the mirror, relook at what you're doing, look at what you're doing in context of the guy next to you. And like I said, that's worthy when you're what? Healthy? And we're, relatively speaking, knock on wood, we're healthy. How about when you've got talent? We do have that. Okay, those are the kinds of things that help you. Do we have a quarterback? Of course we have a quarterback, and proud of it. Do we have some great players on the defensive side of the ball? Those are the things you reinforce in your own mind, and then you go out there and look for your mistakes. You can handle it better when you've reinforced those things I'm talking about right now. That's the way you work out of this thing. But I've never been involved in anything, team or otherwise, that didn't have some really tough days involved in it, ever.
Jerry, you mentioned that, looking in the mirror is part of the process. WFAA TV this morning had a poll, saying who was to blame for the 1-2 start, the players in the field, everything. 70% said that you were the one to blame. Is that fair?
That's very fair. That's very fair. It's well known that no decision is ultimately made there for what I either have it acquiesced or approve it. That's very fair. How could you think otherwise if we are basically, whether it be who's out there coaching, whether it be who's out there playing, whether it be the stadium you're walking into, whatever it is here, that's the way it is. Now, let me just say this. Do I have a huge amount of input in making those decisions? When they've done their homework, they are very influential input to me. And we've got a lot of people in the Dallas Cowboys that have done their input. And I think I've forgotten what it is. Now, I'm not trying to say this, but if you look at who's won the games over the last 4 or 5 years, Kansas City has, of course, but we're not far right. We're right in that pack. Now, we're in a soft spot. We've got to get out of it.
Jerry,
I accept that completely. I don't know how you could look at it otherwise.
Jerry, the TV cameras caught a couple of tense interactions between CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, and DeMarcus Lawrence. When you see those sort of interactions on the sideline between your team, how concerning, if at all, is that for you in terms of for the health and the chemistry of your locker room?
That is nothing to be concerned about. Interaction between teammates and a game like we play, the physicalness of it, the demands of it, the reliance that you have on each other. You really have to have everybody pulling their own weight. You have to do that. And, boy, it is not uncommon at all to not only do it in the middle of the competition, but to be doing it. And by the way, I have never, ever seen that interpreted in any way among a team, but constructive. As a matter of fact, if you can't have that kind of emotion about it, that would be something to be concerned about. But if you couldn't get frustrated on the sidelines of the last couple of ball games we have, it's not in you.
Jerry, do you think CD not being in camp has had any negative impact on the start to his season?
Well, that's a trade-off. I've always thought that since he and Prescott spent so much time working together this summer, and it wasn't an inordinate amount of time, I think they possibly knew something like that might happen. And so they did spend a lot of time. And plus, CD has had a lot of snaps, but more importantly, CD. CD is a competitor. He wants to win. He's beautiful in his transparency. You can tell in a minute whether he's excited or whether he's not excited. And some of us act that way. And that has nothing to do with their effectiveness. In answer to your question, I have always worried just as much about availability as I have about ability in terms of the great players, because there's no question of his ability. There's no question there's been a lot of balls thrown and caught between the two of those. Can we play better on any given snap? Of course. But that doesn't concern me as much as getting on the page with the entire team where everyone is recognizing their role to the other one.
Jerry, how would you grade Dak Prescott's performance through these first 3 games?
Well, I'm not going to grade him. We always look to the ultimate grade, and that's the win. And but I will say this, I didn't give him the kind of contract that I gave him and not be happy about having him as our quarterback. And that was the intent as far as you can see in the future, and that's where I'm glad that we are. And there are things that he does out there that reinforce that every game. Now, he'll be the first to tell you when we get wins here.
Jerry Jones here on 105.3 The Fan. With everything at stake, with the way things have started off, Jerry, are we approaching, and this could be a crazy question, do you think that Thursday night is approaching must-win against the Giants?
Well, I don't want to minimize the importance of playing New York. They're in our division. That says enough right there. And we need a good game. It's a tough place to play there at the Meadowlands, but still, I don't. Again, what's a must-win? When you play, we play 17 games. Some sports play over 150 games. It gets down in those with playing 150 games that they get down to 2 or 3 games that you could look back and say they must win. And to me, when I think about it, that's the case. You might look back and say that's a game that you turned the corner. That's a game that you did that. And I don't mean to sound cavalier when I'm saying it, but boy, every possession is an important possession for us and for each player. And that's the trick, is play the possession, do the best that you've got in you when you're out there, knowing everybody else is going to do the same thing. Good things will happen.
Jerry, you're usually very aware of what's going on, what's being said. Have you sensed a higher level of fan frustration that fans are really voicing that they're more fed up during this rough stretch compared to other past rough stretches?
I've always thought, I guess I got baptized when I first came to Dallas and bought the Cowboys, and we won one football game. And we had made changed out to only coach for 29 years. And we got huge criticism. And the kind that would make what you're seeing now child's play. And so I have never thought that there was any chosen one, or never thought that it was you're dealing with anything but a lot of emotion about our team. It never ceases to surprise me, both from the state of Texas, in the case of the Cowboys, or all over this country in the case of the Cowboys. And it's either there because they want to see us get a you-know-what kick, or it's there because they're following us. The thing that inspires me the most is the emotion about it. But it's certainly, I'm aware of it, I'm aware of criticism, but not any more aware than that score at the end of the game. Let's put it like that. And so I'm aware that you can have a lot of criticism. I was born of that here with the Cowboys. you can have a lot of criticism, and you can end up holding those trophies high. And that's what this is about.
Jerry, can we expect to see Dalvin Cook on Thursday?
You can. We've got a short week here, and I don't think this is the time that you have any real serious roster adjustments in at that particular time. So I don't think so because of the short week for sure.
Jerry, you said after the game that Derrick Henry, you guys basically just couldn't afford him. He's a guy this year.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That is very correct. Stop right there. That's very correct. Part of what you would have paid him is going to players that we paid in the past, and part of what you would have paid him is going forward in the future. But had I thought that position this year was going to make that kind of difference, and that's what you save your bucks for. But it's too complicated to point to a player. There's too much at stake when you look at the entire offense and you look at what we're doing and what we're trying to do with the run game as opposed to the passing game. That's too complicated to dwell on the fact that we don't have a given player on the team. Now, sure enough, I'll never forget some of the I guess decisions personnel-wise that I've been criticized the most. One of them was Randy Moss. I think Zimmer was for coaching on defense when it happened, and we didn't draft Randy, passed on him. And we got Greg Ellis instead of Randy Moss. And, of course, Randy Moss comes out here and has one of the greatest games in history against us, but as it turns out, is one of the greatest receivers of all time. We had one of our scouts, Jason Garrett's dad, stood up in the draft room and said, "Man, what are we doing here? This isn't Sunday school. This isn't Sunday school we're drafting for. This is the greatest receiver that there's ever been. Draft him." And we thought, well, we needed more help in the defensive line, and we passed on Randy Moss. So that's a long story, but that just shows you can't dwell on the passing in the sense of in a draft, drafting him or not a player.
Jerry, last thing, a little bit odd and uncomfortable, but sometimes you make these answers work anyway. Are you aware of this Jamie Foxx video that came out this past weekend, and do you have any comment on it?
I'm not aware of the video. I'm aware of what the story was about, and so without making any more or less of it than you want me to, a story behind it is Jamie Foxx, before he was Jamie Foxx, used to come out to the stadium 15, 20 years ago, and I would watch the ball game from the end zone. And I'd watch it in a little cubby hole that was about 2 or 3 people wide and about 3 chairs deep. Well, Jamie would come up. He lived in this area, and he'd come up, and he'd just come up there and watch the game with us. And we did that all the time when he lived in this area. So he's not only I think maybe the best, one of the best actors that I've ever seen or heard. He's also a great friend and great support. And so we have had a lot of experience watching players, talking about games. And so it's just kind of ironic, I think, when that was supposed to have happened a few years back, but I don't recall it.